Hello, my name is John Hammond, and welcome to Smart from the Start, a series all about education and educating your child. We have a number of panels on our show, but they say the most dangerous thing to do on live television is to involve children and animals. Well, we have no animals, but we do have children, and I would love to introduce to you our panel of experts. Over here we have Leanne. It is so good to have you this morning. Just tell us about your baby. And
this is Emily, and she's 3. I also have a 1-year-old Jessica, who's just not here today. So.
Okay. And we have Danny. Thank you for joining us, Danny.
Thank you.
You have some children here.
I do.
Which ones call you mum?
This one here, her name's Chloe, and she is 3.5, and we have Ashka and Gemma, who are twins, and they are 2.
Lovely. And we have Felicity, who is the newest mum here. And tell us about your little baby.
This is Riley, and he's 4 months old.
And he looks as though he's a real live wire.
He is.
And we have Angelina. Thank you for coming today, Angelina.
Pleasure.
And you have a little baby.
I do. He's an explorer.
He's
this
joining you right now.
is Charlie. Hi, Charlie.
If you could only imagine the hard work that these mothers have had to do to get their children here on this set, you would admire them for what they are doing. You know, there are approximately 34,000 children who will die today, and they will die from starvation. We have all these news features in the world, and they don't often concentrate on gruesome statistics like this. But if we look at 34,000 children who died today and yesterday and will die tomorrow, you can get some idea of what it's like if you fill 100 jumbo jets full of children, and one after another during the day, they crash and all on board die. It is a frightening statistic. We don't know how many orphans exist in the world, but we're told that there are at least 210 million. United Nations provide this figure. And they also say that of that figure, 60% of the girls, when they leave an orphanage, will go into prostitution, and 40% of the boys will go into criminal life as a full-time career. These are frightening things, and as I look at these children here in front of me, I realize that we have good mothers, lovely children, happy homes, but you know, it is hard work bringing up a child. There is one good statistic I would like to tell you, mothers, and that is this. Do you know that if you read to your infant when they are very small, they are learning something, and by the time they get to school, they are 20% ahead of all the other boys and girls in their class because their mother has given them reading readiness before they ever went to school. Now, mothers, I would like to ask you a few questions. And the first one is, when did you first start educating your child? Leanne?
I think it kind of started pre-birth. Like you think about what you're doing. When you're being really cranky or when you're pregnant, things like that, you start thinking, ooh, and you know, I started just making sure that I had a caffeine-free diet and that I'd lost a few kilos before I was pregnant, and that I'd started, you know, exercising and drinking lots of water, and you know, my health was really important pre-birth.
I see lots of nodding and agreement. Did you do the same sorts of things, or?
I definitely think I started before he was born. I mean, they've done a lot of studies that prove that if you play the same song to a child when they're, you know, in the womb, they'll be calmer hearing it on the outside. And I hope that would work so that I would have, you know, calm nights.
And a calm baby.
I definitely started trying to sort of do everything the right way to have the healthiest child, which I guess is a way of educating your child.
We have two lines of thought emerging here. One mother is saying, I prepare very carefully in my pregnancy, and we have another mother who is saying, my baby is actually on some sort of a curriculum before the baby was even born. Mothers, what do you think? Did it work? You're not sure?
He has his own personality, and that's for sure.
Yeah.
I think it's more about educating ourselves as parents. I know I did a lot of reading, which wasn't quite enough, but didn't quite prepare me for a newborn, but to be educated myself as a new mum helped me then to be, I guess, a better mum and keep Charlie on track and routines and all that kind of thing.
Yeah. Now, we've heard about a caffeine-free diet, plenty of sleep, plenty of exercise. Are there any other words of advice you can give to a mother-to-be before your child is born?
Spend lots of time with as many little children as you can and really get to know them and what it's like to be around little children. Familiarise yourself. I know I spent lots of time with my friends with little children, and it helped me immensely.
Now, I know that you're all happily married women, but you know there are many, many millions of mothers in the world who, for whatever reason, don't have a partner or a husband, and they have the responsibility of bringing up a child on your own. And you not only have our sympathies, but we know that God loves you just as much as he loves any mother and their children. But I want to ask the panel here, your husbands, what sort of a role did they have before the baby was born? I'll bet there was a role after they were born. But what sort of a role did they play before they were born? Danny, you seem to think this is amusing. Tell me about it.
Oh, I think my husband, before the children were born, was more of a sounding board for ideas of how we were going to tackle what was to come. And yeah, he just, he's very supportive, and we found that before the birth. Yeah, we just were able to nut out ideas together.
Yeah.
So.
And the other fathers were very helpful before the birth of your baby?
I found it was very much only happening to me. You know, I found that Lyndon found it very hard, my husband found it very hard to understand that my body was changing, and, you know, so we actually hired a machine that you can hear the baby's heartbeat, because I just really wanted Lyndon to really be a part of it, and he couldn't always be at the antenatal appointments and things like that, and that was really exciting. He had it on his mobile phone, and he really felt like, okay, this is actually happening to both of us despite the fact it's only growing in Leanne, and that was really helpful for him to walk away and go, it is happening, despite the fact I can't see it in myself.
Thank you. Now, if you think that fathers are important before the birth, just don't go away, because after the break, we're going to see how important fathers are after the birth. Thank you. Welcome back to Smart from the Start. We have been talking about children and growing up, and we have the most fascinating panel and their children. And we were talking before the break as to the role of a father prior to the birth of the child. But once the baby's born, the father comes in big time. Now, I can guess a couple. Chief nappy changer, chief baby walker at 2 o'clock in the morning, but I think I don't have a really realistic view of this, and I'm going to ask the panel, what role does the father of your children have when they are very, very small babies? Danny?
Well, I found my husband, when I had my first child, I was the primary carer because he was on night duty, working at night, so I was the primary carer. However, when I had the twins, logistically I needed him at night. So he was fantastic to help with nappy changes and the feeds and things. And it would be good if he was here now for an extra pair of hands. Yeah, but he was really good with the twins, just I needed that extra pair of hands. So.
And let me tell you, being a mother is a very, very busy time I thought my wife, when our little children were born, that she was busy, but now that I've got grandchildren, I really know how hard work it is. And you other mothers, what role does your husband, the father of your children, play when your child was very, very young? And Angelina?
Well, I'll put a plug in for my husband now. He is fantastic and has been fantastic. As Leanne was saying before, he wasn't very connected to Charlie before he was born, but as soon as he was born, in the first few minutes they had a connection, and you could see that Charlie was looking into his eyes and really recognising that this person was a very significant person in his life. So, yeah, Arthur, my husband, just has a wonderful relationship, and Charlie really values having his dad around.
You know, mums, as I look at these children here in front of us, the boys and girls, the question comes to my mind, did your little baby boy or little baby girl act as a baby boy and a baby girl naturally, or did you teach them to act as a little boy or a little girl? What do you think, Leanne?
I found very much that Emily didn't really have one or the other when she was first born, but maybe because she just played all the time with her dad's toys, and her dad's toys were cars and trucks and Lego and things that he had from when he was a kid, and people would come over and they thought, oh wow, she's got really good boys' toys as well as girl toys. But now that she's 3, she's very much come into her own little girl, and we haven't taught her that, she's just done it herself.
Yeah.
I don't think they really started to have an interest until it was a birthday and they were given babies or gender appropriate toys, and until then they were happy to play with anything that made a noise. So yeah,
you know, we have boys and girls on the set, and as I look at them, the thought occurs to me, did you teach them how to become little boys or little girls, or is it something that just happens naturally? I saw your eyes just light up, Angelina.
Yes, well, my little boy, I think, is definitely a little boy. He has, we haven't taught him to play with cars. We haven't taught him to run his cars along the lounge, but he does naturally, and so I would think that it is a natural thing.
I'd have to agree with you. I was surprised with Riley. I didn't think that we were treating him specifically like a boy, but from about 2 months on he made it pretty clear that he wanted to be treated like a boy. He was, you know, very active and liked rough play, which shocked me because I treated him like a little porcelain doll. But no, I think he definitely started acting like a boy, which surprised me.
Good on you, little Riley.
It's okay. I found, maybe it's different because I've got a girl, but when my daughter was born, she just played with all of her daddy's toys that he had from when he was a child, and so there were trucks and cars and Lego, and he just played with her. Sometimes we played dolls, sometimes we played cars, it didn't matter. And we have a friend with 3 boys, and she came over and her boys were like, wow, they've got cool toys, she's got boys' toys. But now that she's 3, she's definitely come into her own, and she wants to wear pretty spinny dresses and she wants to wear her hair down, and we haven't taught her that. That is just coming out of her herself. So
Yeah.
yes, I do agree with that. My girls were pretty happy to play with anything that they were given, but now that they're older and they've got the toys that they were given at birthdays that people have thought, oh, they're girls, I'll give them babies and dresses and very pretty things, and so now that they've got those things, they love to be a girl and they love to dress up. So
You know, we're coming into the nature and nurture debate, and I'd just like to ask these mothers, with your children's personalities, how much is inherited and how much is environmental, or how much is just that individual little child that you have?
I would like to hope that a lot of it is his individual personality coming through, but at the same time, I can see as we're teaching Charlie to do things during the day, to play with others, and to learn that we're instilling our values and our education into him. But I think I can see it's all him at the moment.
Yeah. You're all in agreement with that?
yeah, kind of. I also see some family traits coming through. Some things that I wouldn't want them to be
You're
showing.
very honest, Danny.
But yeah, I'm definitely seeing some, but I'm also seeing things that we're teaching them as well coming through. So it's a bit of a mixture, I think.
Now let's start talking about, with your little children, at what point in their lives do you start instilling spiritual values, teach them about Jesus? How and where do you start?
It really began when Emily was responding a lot to me. When we were reading stories and she was really responding at sort of the 18-month age, it really began that she could kneel for prayer and knew what was happening in Grace. I think Angelina was saying something about that before, Grace and stuff.
Yeah.
I think they just take it on though. I think their little brains are sponges, and right from the beginning they sort of note the way you act and what goes on in the home and the routine and all of those sort of things. But you're right, it's probably not until later that they consciously understand the spirituality of it.
If I could just stay with you, Felicity, because you have the youngest baby. He's only 4 months old. What sort of a routine do you have at 4 months, if any, to try and instill on little Riley that there is Jesus, or there is worship, or there is a greater power? What do you do?
It's pretty hard with a baby this young to sort of explain complex spiritual concepts, but we take him to Sabbath school, and he's responded to that from when he was 6 weeks old.
Now, Felicity just said Sabbath school. To you it might be Sunday school, but these mothers take their children to church every Sabbath. And we're going to come back because that represents a real challenge to many mothers. How do I prepare my children for church? Is it going to upset the church? Is everybody going to leave? Don't go away. Welcome back to Smart from the Start. We have a panel of mothers and their little children with us, and we have been talking about establishing a routine of family worship. And now we come to the question of, sooner or later you want to take them to church. Mums, what do you do? What are the tricks in preparing your children to go to church for the first time?
Well, I think taking a baby to church for the first time is a pretty terrifying experience, especially with a newborn, when you're scared they're going to scream the place down. I think all you can do is try and be as prepared as possible and make sure they're fed, and if they're interested in toys, have something for them to be interested in.
Okay. Now, at your church, when you arrive there, are there special classes for little babies and young children? What have you got?
Well, we have I suppose, well, my kids call it Kid Church, Sabbath School, and it's designed for meeting their needs and their interests, and at the same time teaching them some basic principles and basic knowledge about Jesus, and so set up for them.
So
it's
we
great.
have a cradle roll for the littlies, we have kindergarten, we have primary, we have juniors, we have early teens. I think we've covered the whole lot. And then the great moment arrives when you go to big church and you are worried as to whether they're going to put on a show that will have you embarrassed. How do you prepare for that? What do you take?
Quiet toys, nice and quiet toys.
Did you hear that? Nothing that rattles?
Nothing.
Nothing that plays music? Nothing that a child has to hit? Yes, go on.
I also find toys that they don't play with during the week, a special Sabbath bag has been very important, and we might pick something when we're out at the shops and it might go in the special Sabbath bag, and then they'll play with it for a few Sabbaths in a row, and then it'll come out into their normal play and something else will go in the Sabbath bag, and that's been very important.
Is there a special place in the church for you to sit? You're not right down the front? Do they provide for you? And do they mind if the children are on the floor in front of you?
I think think most churches have reserved seats towards the back for parents with infants, but in general the church is very tolerant of kids, I think.
And the cry room's very good. We have a designated area at the back, and I have to take my 1-year-old there every now and then. She sits for a while, and I think that's very important, but after a while it's a bit hard for her to sit, and we go out there and we finish church out there, and that's fine.
I'm glad you said the cry room, because mothers, sooner or later, your child is going to leave your side and go to school, a preschool, or a kindergarten. How are you going to deal with separation anxiety? Have you got any ideas as to what you should do? Have you been through it?
My children don't go to kinder as such, but they do go into care 1 day a week, and I've actually had a very positive experience. My children adore it, and every day they ask, is it time to go to daycare now? And they love it.
Oh.
So it's been great for them.
How did you prepare them for that?
We had meetings with their carer, and we had about 2 meetings before they actually started going, and so they felt very comfortable at the place they were going to. And just talking about it at home, making it an exciting thing for them.
You know, the other day my wife went for a walk, and she walked past a daycare centre, and she came home a little bit distraught because she heard a little child calling out, "I want my mummy, I want my mummy." This was in the middle of the day. How do you choose the ideal daycare centre? Imagine you're going for a drive and you see 4 or 5 of them. What are the cues that you look for as you drive past that this might be a good place to send my child?
Well, we were joking about how high the fence is, my husband and I, is the fence high? I personally like the fact that you can't see them playing at my childcare centre. You can't see the kids playing, and that's safe to me.
Yeah, what do you think, Danny?
Well, it's a bit different for us because we're not using a traditional daycare centre. We've got a home environment that my kids get looked after in, and that's very important to us because it's much like our own home. And a very loving carer. She's just adores the children, and they're her only care, and it's just beautiful.
You know, it's very hard in a modern society where these mothers may have to return to the workforce because there is a mortgage to pay off. And when they go in to a daycare centre, they will talk to the director or to the principal, and no doubt they have a number of questions that they would like to ask. Angelina, what is the first question you would ask the principal or the director when you sat in front of them?
Well, I haven't been to a childcare centre. I've been to a family daycare provider as well, and probably the first question that I've asked them is how they'll deal with my child if they're upset, and to find out how they can react to him, because I guess you like to think that someone you leave your child with is going to look after them the way that you would look after them.
Leanne?
Well, I've been in this situation, and I actually had quite a long list of questions. I had, what do you do when one child hits another? What do you do when my child's not listening or isn't, I wanted to know that their responses were going to be very kind, very careful.
I'm going to finish with a question. If you had to give a prospective parent, they may be expecting, what is one word of advice that you would give to them? I'll start with you, Angelina.
My word of advice is to expect the best, prepare for the worst, but to expect the best, and just to enjoy the time that you have when they're this little. It's very difficult, but to enjoy.
Thank you. Felicity, what would you say?
I'd say to do as much research as you can before the baby's born.
Very good.
And to have a good network of support around you.
Yeah. Danny?
I agree with what was said earlier. Just cherish the earlier moments. It all passes so quickly, and to just enjoy those moments while you've got them young.
Leanne?
My advice is actually find older parents that you admire, and question them. That's my advice.
Your panel, you have been marvellous. You have really worked hard today and you have beautiful children. And I want to finish with a text from the Bible, from the New Testament, the words of Jesus, great words of encouragement. Listen to this from the book of Matthew. See that you do not look down on one of these little ones, for I tell you that their angels in heaven always see the face of my Father. Your Father in heaven is not willing that any of these little ones should be lost. Mothers, God bless you in your work. Mothers throughout the world, God bless you, because Jesus died for your children.